There are 10 models of Rad Power Bikes and we have them all behind us. In this video, we're gonna help you decide which Rad Power Bike is right for you. Let's get into it. One favor to ask of you before we get started, if you are looking to purchase any Rad Power Bike, check out the links in the description. If you use those links before you make your purchase, it's a free and easy way to help support the channel, makes videos like this one possible. Thank you so much for your support. We'll also have some other resources down in the description, our electric bike accessories list, top e-bike brands page, and of course our electric bike discounts code page, where we track all the deals on the electric bike brands that we follow, including Rad Power Bike.
And be sure to stay tuned till the end of the video where we'll tell you about our favorite model of Rad Power Bike.
And let us know your favorite down in the comment section below. Let us know if you have any additional questions and if we should do a video like this for any other brands that you're a big fan of. With that, let's get started. So there are 4 different categories on Rad Power Bike's website: off-road, cargo and utility, city and commuter, and folding. Though a lot of these electric bikes span multiple categories, so we're going to talk a little bit about that. We'll talk about what is the most comfortable for riding, which is the most affordable, and maybe some of the things that we'd like to see from Rad in future models. And one other quick note, I also run the Rad Owners Forum at radowners.com. There is a community of over 7,000 Rad Power Bikes owners sharing tons of information, so if you like digging deep, or perhaps you have other questions, that is a great place to do some searching, do a post, a very friendly community. I will also link that down in the description. First, let's talk about what you need to know before you buy a Rad Power Bike, and then we'll talk about the individual models. So the first thing I want to talk about, and is one of the big selling points of Rad Power Bikes, in my opinion, is that they're all well tuned. All the pedal assist levels feel very smooth, and that's not something that you'll find from other e-bike brands. Rad Power Bikes has really thought about how the pedal assist engages in each level. That means all of these models are super accessible. Next, you'll have support from Rad Power Bikes customer service, and as far as I'm aware, Rad Power Bikes is still the largest seller of e-bikes in North America, claiming 450,000 riders. That's pretty insane when you think about it. The company was founded all the way back in 2007, and they also have local stores as well as a 14-day trial, so be sure to check out the terms and conditions of that if you're looking to try out a Rad Power Bike. We'll put all the locations of their current shops up on the screen in case you live nearby. All right, what else do we need to know about Rad Power Bikes?
All Rad Power Bikes are Class 2 electric bikes. They all have a top speed of 20 miles per hour, whether that is on throttle or pedaling, and they all have 750 watt peak motors. The only difference amongst the motors of the Rad Power Bikes is on the Plus models. They all have a Rad engineered motor that gives them a better hill climbing capability. One thing that is also the same amongst all of the Rad Power Bike models is that they're all cadence sensors versus being a torque sensor. So what that means is that when you start pedaling, you're immediately going to be given power. It's like an on-off switch, where a torque sensor would actually measure the amount of effort that you're putting in and amplify that. So just something to be aware of, that all Rad Power Bikes do use cadence sensors.
Speaking of Plus models, let's talk about the Plus models versus the non-Plus models. So first, I need to call out one Plus model that really isn't a Plus model in the sense that it has similar components, and that's going to be the first generation of the RadRunner Plus that you see here. This is a Plus model, but it still has an externally mounted battery. It does not have hydraulic disc brakes. So when you're looking at the website, just keep in mind the RadRunner Plus is far different than the newly announced RadRunner 3 Plus. Now let's talk about the Plus models. I have them all lined up here. So first off, we have the RadRover 6 Plus. This is their only fat tire electric bike, but it has a semi-integrated battery, which Rad Power Bikes first announced with this bike, or first released with this bike. It has a battery indicator so you can tell how much battery you have. And we have hydraulic disc brakes on the Plus models. As you see here, this RadRover 6 Plus has nut hydraulic disc brakes. And you can also see that we have the new dual display that's also standard on all the Plus models. And for comparison's sake, let's show you the standard LCD display that comes on other Rad Power Bikes models. It gives you a lot of the same information. It just doesn't look quite as sleek. And it's nice to have the big pedal assist levels on the left, as well as the big buttons on the new display. Next, we have the RadCity 5 Plus. This is their only city bike. Again, semi-integrated battery, same nut hydraulic disc brakes. And those are really the main upgrades that you're getting with the Plus models. We'll get into price a little bit more, but they are on the more expensive side. And then we have the brand new RadRunner 3 Plus that just came out. Again, hydraulic disc brakes, this time Tektro, and of course the same semi-integrated battery instead of the external battery found on all Rad Power Bikes models. All right, JT, what's another thing that helps Rad Power Bikes stand out?
Has to be the accessories. So starting over here on Ryan's favorite, we have the RadWagon 4, and they have it pretty decked out here. It is missing the Conestoga, which is this massive contraption on the back that provides sun and rain coverage for your kids, but that mounts to the caboose. Then if you come up here to the front, you have baskets with roll top bags that are nicely fitted to go inside. We don't even have any of the accessories for the RadTrike, but some of the hints and things we've seen for that, it almost turns into a golf cart, it seems like, which is really cool to see. But the accessories is one thing that Rad puts a lot of time and effort into and really helps them kind of stand out amongst the crowd. I mean, take the RadRunner lineup, for example. They have places to put passengers, they have extra storage bins, and then if you look back here, some of these new accessories for the RadRunner 3 Plus, they also make these hard locking storage bins that mount to the RadRunner 3 Plus. Then we have a battery storage bag. If you're ever transporting your Rad battery, all of models of Rad batteries fit into this. Then we also have these locking pannier bags for the RadRunner 3 Plus. We're super excited to get these on and try them out. Hopefully we don't get too close to anything, actually knock them off. And then we have the Rad trailer, which they just came out with. We have the pet carrier add-on here, which is Ryan and I were pretty impressed putting this thing together. And then they also make a bin that drops in if you want to use it to, say, transport groceries or maybe some things that a truck would normally do.
And that's not the only Rad pet accessory. They have a slew of different bags that can go, for instance, in the small and large baskets that you can put smaller dogs in. And the other thing, of course, that's unique is that a lot of these accessories are cross-compatible, like this front rack with the large basket. The 4-bolt pattern here just mounts on there. So overall, the accessories on the Rad Power Bikes models are top-notch. So if you're familiar with the channel, you know we always recommend step-throughs, and if you're not familiar with the channel, be sure to subscribe for more awesome e-bike content. Let's talk about step-throughs. So if you look at every single Rad Power Bike here, you'll notice that they're all step-throughs. In fact, there's only 2 bikes from Rad Power Bikes that aren't step-throughs, and that should say a lot about what type of e-bike people are buying. I think this offers a hint into what are some of the most popular models. So let's talk about high step models just briefly. The only bikes in the Rad lineup that you can get that are high step, meaning a bar up here called the top tube, is on the RadRover 6 Plus or the RadCity 5 Plus. Now you'll note, looking at some of these RadRunners, we have the center console, which of course affects the step-through height, making it a little less accessible. So the reason we always recommend step-throughs, whether you're buying a Rad Power Bike or any other brand, is just because they're so much more accessible. The best e-bike is one you're going to ride, and having that step-through design just makes it that much easier to hop on and ride for a long period of time and get off. And so that's what I see most people purchase, and I think that's where the industry is actually going. I don't see a downside of the step-throughs unless you have a strong preference of having a top tube.
And if you are in the market between the high step and the step-through bikes, we did a video, it'll be linked in the upper right-hand corner, hopefully I'm pointing to the right one, where we did a direct comparison between the high step and step-through and kind of showed you what type of accessibility you can gain by eliminating the top tube.
So with all those factors out of the way of what you should know about Rad Power Bikes before you make your purchase, what you should know about their models just generally, let's now jump into price, one of the main considerations of someone purchasing an electric bike. We're gonna talk about the MSRP, or the price that you'll usually find, but keep in mind that Rad Power Bikes does put their bikes on sale from time to time. Again, be sure to check out our electric bike discounts code page. Let's start off with the most affordable Rad Power Bike, and that is the RadRunner 2, priced at $14.99. Now it doesn't come with all of these accessories. We'll put a picture on the screen of how the bike comes shipped to you. And then of course you can upgrade to your liking. Moving up from there, we have the RadExpand 5, the only folding bike in the Rad lineup. This bike is priced at $1649. Let's jump over to the other RadRunner models. This is the Rad Power Bikes RadRunner Plus, priced at $19.99. And then of course, we already talked about some of the premium features on the RadRunner 3 Plus. That's priced at $22.99. And then next we have the RadCity 5 Plus, of course, as the name implies, their city-oriented electric bike, priced at $19.99. And then we have the RadRover 6 Plus, their fat tire electric bike, priced at $20.99. And next we have the bike that really started it all for me personally with Rad Power Bikes, and that is the RadWagon 4, priced at $19.99, and this is the ultimate kid carrier. And finally, we have the perhaps most interesting looking bike in the Rad Power Bikes fleet. We reviewed this at the end of 2022 when it was first launched. This is the RadTrike, the most expensive model from Rad Power Bikes, priced at $24.99.
Also worth noting, the RadTrike is the only Rad model with reverse. Now we're gonna go ahead and run through all the models and give you reasons why you might wanna consider each one of them. And also, while we're doing this, keep in mind, if there is one model that jumps out at you, we have full reviews on all of these models, except the RadRunner 3 Plus, as we're waiting for the roads to defrost so we can get out and get that, but that will be added to the lineup and out soon. Starting down here on the end, we have the RadTrike. This bike serves a really single purpose. It's to be an accessibility tool and to get people out riding that are not able to ride a normal two-wheeled bike. And it serves that purpose great. It has a very approachable but yet powerful motor. Ryan was able to ride this bike up our hill at the same speed, starting out from the bottom and getting all the way to the top. One thing to note about the RadTrike is it does have a 10 amp hour battery, where every other Rad model has a 14 amp hour battery. You may also notice that up here on the handlebars, you are missing a speedometer screen on the RadTrike. And so it just has a simple pedal assist selector on the handle.
Now, one thing that Rad Power Bikes did is they went with one brake, and it is a front brake. It also has a parking brake, which is really nice. But also, if you know or remember as a child, coaster brake. So when you pedal backwards, that's actually going to engage the bikes on this bike. And the reason they did that is because not everyone would be able to use the handbrake. So it's nice to be able to just put your feet backwards and help stop the bike. The other thing that I'll point out is this nice seat with a backrest. And speaking of accessibility, as this is an accessibility tool, pedal assist level 1 is almost at a speed that you would be walking. So say you were going for a ride with someone or going for a walk with someone, you could have the trike right next to them and they could go at a pace that would be at a speed of someone walking.
And one other thing to note about the RadTrike is it does have a top speed of 14 miles an hour.
And that's really for safety. Trikes get a little hairy when you're going above 15 miles an hour. And so to keep this bike safe, Rad Power Bikes went with that top speed. Of course, most people riding this electric bike wouldn't want to go faster in the first place. And one other final feature that we'll call out about this electric bike is that it has a pretty short wheelbase, which means that you can fit it through external doors. And it also can come apart in case you want to fit it in the back of your vehicle for transportation. Next, we have the RadWagon, and this one's pretty easy. This is the bike that you're going to want to buy if you're looking to haul lots of cargo, whether it be groceries or what we use this bike for is hauling children. It has the Thule Up Maxi windows like we see on many of the Rad Power Bikes. You can put 2 of them here. And of course, as JT already talked about, the Conestoga, we're here in Wisconsin, protects against the cold winter when we're riding in inclement conditions. So this is going to be the heaviest Rad Power Bike, but it's also the most capable, and this is the one that mostly families will choose. We'll get to some of the other cargo capable electric bikes in the lineup. Another thing that I really like about the RadWagon is the adjustable stem here. For me and my wife, we can simply raise this up and adjust the handlebars to our liking. And you can see we have some of our favorite accessories already on this electric bike because we do use this bike pretty often with our children. And for those people that are looking to haul cargo mainly, you can get the panniers. There's lots of room on this rear rack. You could really load it up with groceries. And of course, the large basket, small basket can be mounted back here as well if you're not going to be, for instance, hauling children.
Next up in the row, we have the RadRover 6 Plus. This bike really just is a beast. It's got 26 by 4-inch tires, so it really is capable of rolling over anything, a beach, paved roads, anything you can throw at it. And then coming up here to the front, you have a nice fork to absorb some of those bumps if you are taking this off-road. And then you also have the ability for a rear rack on this that does also include a Thule window. So if you're looking for maybe more of a do-it-all bike, the RadRover 6 Plus is probably gonna be a good option for you.
And out of all of the models of e-bikes that you can buy just generally, it's super surprising that the fat tire category really took off. This is actually what got Rad Power Bike started with their original RadRover. And as JT said, a lot of people buy these bikes, even if they're gonna ride on the road, because they just love the look, they love the feel. The fat tires just makes for a super comfortable ride. And we haven't seen any slowdown on people purchasing fat tire electric bikes. And just to note that this is the only RadRover in the lineup because they did get rid of the original RadRover. This is the RadRover 6 Plus. Next, we have the RadCity 5 Plus. Now they call this a city bike. Some other companies will call these commuter electric bikes. I actually don't like that verbiage because this is the bike that I recommend to most people that are familiar with non-electric bikes because it's going to look more familiar to them. It has thinner tires as you see on many bikes that you're just using to cruise around. And then of course you have these nice swept back handlebars, an adjustable stem to put you in a nice upright riding position depending on what you prefer. Overall, this is the smoothest bike out of the bunch with their thinner wheels, and you're also going to get the most range out of the RadCity 5 Plus. And another thing that I really like about this model is they have this really heavy duty rear rack that comes included with your purchase. It has a max weight capacity of 59.5 pounds. And again, if you have a child, you can put their seat back here in the Thule Up Maxi window, or if you prefer, you can mount the rear basket. So it really offers a lot of versatility. They have pannier bars here, so you can mount some bags. And that's the RadCity 5 Plus, and that's why I like it. Maybe the most underrated bike in the lineup, and it's one that I recommend quite frequently. Next, let's move into the RadRunner lineup. Now, it should say a lot that Rad Power Bikes has come out and currently sells all three of these RadRunner models. I think that says a little bit about the popularity of this electric bike, not having any inside information. Let's start off with the most affordable model. This is the RadRunner 2. Keep in mind, again, it doesn't come with a lot of these accessories. This is an entry-level electric bike, the most entry-level one from Rad Power Bikes. You can see that this is one of the models that has an LED display, not to be confused with an LCD display. So very simple, you don't get miles per hour. But one of the nice things is you still get a lot of the great features that make the RadRunner a cool bike. And let's talk about that. That's going to be this adjustable seat. It's actually patented by Rad Power Bikes. A lot of moped-style e-bikes just have a flat seat and there's no adjustability. But what you can do on the RadRunner, say you have a passenger back here and then you're riding the bike, you can ride with them just back here, ride it like a moped, maybe use the throttle a little bit, have some fun. But then maybe you're dropping your passenger off, or simply you want to be in a higher riding position to get full leg extension. And this is where their patent comes in. You can raise this seat and it does allow you to get full leg extension, really get that bend in your knee that most people prefer. But if you want to ride it like a moped, you can do that too. It's totally up to you. Now, one of the unique things about this bike is that it is the only single speed in the Rad Power Bikes lineup. And what that really means is that hills are going to be a little bit more of a challenge. So you'll likely be using that throttle or perhaps a higher pedal assist level than you would otherwise be doing. But on the other hand, the nice thing is simplicity. There's no gearing, there's no shifter up here. And of course you have these really nice BMX style handlebars that you can put towards you, put further away, depending on your preference. The RadRunner models in Rad Power Bikes fleet I view as kind of urban, the most versatile bike in the Rad Power Bikes lineup because you can really just customize it how you want. And it's probably one of the most fun to ride as well because it's not quite as long, but you still get some cargo capability here in the rear. So it's a little bit more nimble, of course, lighter as well. And so if you just want something simple, the RadRunner 2 is a great option. And if you want to hop on a Rad Power Bike for the most affordable price, this is going to be your bike.
Next up in the RadRunner lineup, you have the RadRunner Plus. Now this bike is really built upon the same platform as the RadRunner 2, but has some nice commodities and other things added to it for that little bit of extra money. what those things are, you get a actual LCD display here. And this LCD display can display speed and watts and a lot more information than the LED display we saw on the RadRunner 2. Also, while we're up here in the front, you'll notice we have the premium headlights as well as a suspension front fork. And then moving back here to the back of the RadRunner Plus, you'll notice the passenger package, which comes pre-installed in the Plus. Passenger package is this rear seats. These bars are not included, these pegs, and these wheel guards. And while we're down here as well, the other big difference you'll notice on the Plus model is it is a 7-speed.
Suffice to say, if you're looking to carry a passenger, you're going to want to consider either the Plus models, and one of the nice things about this particular model is you're not going to have to install those pesky wheel guards. And another similarity is, of course, these batteries are located in the same spot. And speaking of battery, I think we should move over to the brand new RadRunner 3 Plus. JT, what makes this bike special?
So this got what we were deeming the Plus makeover, like I said, excluding the RadRunner Plus. So what that means, like we had already said, it has Tektro hydraulic disc brakes, you have the dual LCD displays, and the integrated 14 amp hour battery.
And of course, you also have the 7-speed shifting, the front suspension fork. You do not get the premium headlight, and you do not get the passenger package as well. Let's take a closer look at these saddles. Now, on the original RadRunner models, one of the complaints were that these seats were just not that comfortable, and they're custom. So if you wanted to put a different seat on it, you actually had to purchase a different seat post. Now Rad Power Bikes has introduced this much sleeker, much more comfortable saddle on the RadRunner 3 Plus, and it does come nicely flush. In our full review, we'll have the passenger package installed and just show you how that looks. But this seat is a huge improvement over the original seats on the RadRunners.
One of the other big differences on the RadRunner 3 Plus model is in the rear rack. They really beefed up this rear rack. It has a higher weight carrying capacity. They integrated some pannier bars here on the side. You can also see it has a toolie up window built into it, which the other RadRunner models do as well, but the higher weight carrying capacity of this rack really helps it stand out. And another thing that's gonna set the RadRunner 3 Plus out from the other RadRunner models is it has a 10% greater hill climbing capable motor. We're really excited to put that to the test at our full review. Keep an eye out, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you'll get notified when that comes out.
Overall, the RadRunner 3 Plus is just a more refined bike. I think the paint job looks even sleeker. They even hid the controller down in the frame here instead of having it mounted externally on the previous models. So Rad really took what made the original RadRunners great and made it even better for those looking for a more premium electric bike. And last, we have the RadExpand 5 Rad Power Bikes folding electric bike. Now, this is one of the more entry-level bikes, so we do also see an LED display compared to the LCD display. This is the same display as found on the RadRunner 2. Now, one of the changes that I did like about the RadExpand 5 were these folding BMX-style handlebars compared to the typical folding handlebars that you see on many folding electric bikes. Now, it shouldn't be surprising that this being a folding electric bike is catered towards those who perhaps want to take their bike on the go but don't want to purchase a high-capacity rack. It's just much easier to throw this in the back of your vehicle. Perhaps you're an RVer. Those are some of the use cases. One of our favorite things to do with folding electric bikes is put it in our infamous tote, because then it's super easy to carry around with 2 people. And this is by far the most portable electric bike. And one of the unique things is that it has fat tires. It does not have front suspension, but certainly you can take these bikes off-road. You just might want to lower the pressure a little bit. Rad Power Bikes also includes this rear rack, and as you can see here, we have the optional small basket if you want to haul some cargo. So overall, it's a more compact electric bike. It's one of the smaller Rad Power Bikes in the fleet, so this is one that you might want to consider if perhaps you're a little bit unsure of yourself, or perhaps you're a more petite rider. All right, favorite Rad Power Bike time, but before we get into that, just a reminder, if you want to help support the channel, we would really appreciate it if you use our affiliate link down in the description. It truly helps us make videos like this one, and we really appreciate your support. All right, drum roll, please. JT, what is your favorite Rad Power Bike?
I'm gonna have to go with the RadRunner 3 Plus. I know we haven't gotten to get out and ride this bike yet, but the previous RadRunner models were amongst my favorite, and partly because they're very versatile. I can throw a kid on the back, or I can throw a basket on the back and carry cargo, and really having the more powerfully tuned motor, 14 amp hour battery, and hydraulic disc brakes. I'm really excited for this to take the place of the previous RadRunners as my favorite Rad Power Bike. All right, and Ryan, what is your favorite e-bike? This is not going to be a surprise to anyone in the audience.
JT is laughing behind the camera because it should come to no surprise that our favorite Rad Power Bike is, of course, the bike that started it all for us with our 2018 RadWagon. This bike is just the most capable of the fleet. You can put 2 kids in the back, load up groceries. My wife absolutely loves riding this electric bike. We added the large basket somewhat recently, and we just throw a bunch of stuff in here, and it just offers tons of storage. And if you have to buy just one Rad Power Bike and you don't mind the extra weight, this is the most capable Rad Power Bike in the lineup. And of course, that's why if I could only own one, it would have to be a RadWagon.
And again, let us know down in the comments what your favorite Rad Power Bike is. And with that out of the way, we'll see you guys in the next one.